Today we're diving deep into the ultimate showdown. Green apple vs. red apple. They may seem similar at first glance, but trust me, there's a whole world of difference. We're talking nutrition, taste, storage, even some apple history. Let's unpack this fruity face-off once and for all. Before we get into the smackdown, let's meet our contestants. Not all apples are created equal. In the green corner, we have the Granny Smith, the classic tart apple, literally named after Maria Ann Smith from Australia. Next up is the Crispin, also known as Mutsu, which is actually a cross between a golden delicious and an Indo apple. And finally, the Pippin, one of the oldest American apple varieties. Now, in the red corner, we've got the Gala, sweet, mild, originally from New Zealand. The Fuji, a Japanese variety that's super crisp and sweet. And the classic Red Delicious, probably the most recognizable apple in America. Though it's got a controversial rep among apple enthusiasts, each of these brings something different to the table. So this isn't just green versus red, it's a full-on apple rumble in the jungle. All right? Round no. 1. The science of taste? Let's start with the science behind why these apples taste so different. I've got lab style set up here. These aren't actual lab tests, but I am testing pH strips and measuring tools, okay? So apples are naturally acidic. The pH scale goes from 0 to 14. The lower the pH, the stronger the acid. Tomatoes are around 4.5, lemons are around 2. So you can see apples are pretty low. Green apples usually range from 3.1 to 3.4. Red apples fall between 3.3 to 3.8. The lower the number, the more acidic, which explains that mouth-puckering sensation. But acidity is only half the story. Sugar content varies wildly. Granny Smiths have about 10% sugar. Meanwhile, a Fuji can have up to 18% sugar. That's nearly twice as sweet. Let's do a little taste test, starting with the Granny Smith, which is the most acidic of the bunch. Bite and reaction. Wow. Okay. Immediate tartness, almost lemony. My mouth is actually watering from the acidity. Super crisp texture, clean finish. Moving to the Crispin, this is much milder than the Granny Smith. Still tart, but with more complexity. The Pippin, another old American favorite. This one has a nice balance between tartness and sweetness. A little grainy in texture, but very flavorful. Now, moving over to the reds. First up, the Gala. Completely different world. Sweet, floral, almost perfumed. The Fuji, arguably the sweetest of the bunch. This is like apple candy, super crisp and juicy. And last but not least, the Red Delicious. Honestly, it's mild, maybe even a bit bland compared to these others. It's got a few fans, but I think we can all agree it's not the star of the show. All right, round no. 2. Nutritional deep dive. Let's talk about what's really going on nutritionally, because there are some surprising differences here. Starting with the basics. Calories are pretty similar across the board. 80 to 100 calories per apple. Carbs range from 19 to 25 grams with green apples, typically on the lower end. But fiber content is where things get interesting. Green apples average about 4.5 grams of fiber, while red apples average around 3.8 grams. That might not sound like much, but it's actually a 15% difference. Antioxidants are where red apples shine. Those red pigments, called anthocyanins, are powerful Studies show red apples can have up to 50% more antioxidants than green varieties. There's fascinating research from Cornell University showing that apple peels contain most of the up to 6 times more than the flesh and red apple peels, particularly rich in quercetin, which has anti-inflammatory properties. For blood sugar impact, Green apples generally have a lower glycemic index. The combination of higher acidity and fiber means they're absorbed more slowly. This is why nutritionists often recommend green apples for people watching their blood sugar. Round 3. Cooking and baking experiments. Time to get hands-on in the kitchen. I'm going to test these apples in 4 different preparations to see which performs best. First up, classic apple pie. I'm making mini pies with each variety to see how they hold up to heat and sugar. The green apples are holding their shape beautifully during prep. Look at how the Granny Smiths maintain their structure even when sliced thin. The red apples, especially the Red Delicious, are already getting a bit mushy just from cutting. Time, lapse, baking, sequence. After 25 minutes in the oven. Wow, look at the difference. The green apple pies maintain their texture perfectly. The red apple pies are more like applesauce. Still delicious, but completely different texture. Speaking of applesauce, let's make some for sauce. You actually want apples that break down easily, so red varieties might win here. The sauce is coming together beautifully with the red apples. The green apples need a bit more sweetener and a little longer on the stove to break down. Perfect for a cozy autumn day. Next, caramel apples. I'm testing which holds the caramel better. The firmer green apples definitely hold the caramel coating better. Less moisture means better adhesion. And lastly, apple slices in a Waldorf salad. After 30 minutes, let's see which one's brown, less, and maintain crunch. The green apples are winning on both fronts. Less browning and better crunch retention. Round 4, storage and seasonality. Apples are one of those unique fruits that store well for months. But how do these guys handle the long term? I've got the storage experiment set up here. Identical apples stored for 1 week, 2 weeks, and a month. Green apples, especially Granny Smiths, maintain their crispness way longer. After a month, they're still crunchy, while most red varieties have gone mealy. Seasonality matters too. Green apples are typically harvested later in the season, which means they store better and last longer in your fridge. Red varieties are often at their peak in early fall, but don't maintain quality as long. All right, round 5, the crunch factor and texture analysis. Let's get technical about texture. I've got a sound meter here to actually measure the crunch level. Bites each apple with the sound meter visible. Granny Smith, 68 decibels. That's loud enough to annoy your coworkers. Fuji apple, 52 decibels. Much quieter, softer bite. But loudness doesn't always mean better. The Fuji has this incredible juice factor. Look at this. Green apples, maximum crunch, clean break, less juice. Red apples, softer bite, more juice. Sometimes that unpleasant, mealy texture in older apples. All right, after all this testing, analysis, and apple science, which team wins the ultimate showdown?